Alicia had been studying inside the shed for a month, and in order to bring her food, they had to use a small cart enchanted with a spell that allowed it to pass through the barrier. Jill passed by the cafeteria, where food was served to the servants. As she sat and chatted with some of them, she mentioned that she used to be poor, so she considered the servants' meals a luxury. Hearing this, the other servants were touched and soon began offering her more food. Jill felt like the luckiest person in Loana. However, he knew that he had to live up to Alicia's standards, as that was what Alicia expected of him. He wouldn't let anyone tell him that he couldn't do something just because he was a commoner. Alicia's father visited Jill to give her a magic potion to drink that she would need to pass through the barrier surrounding their hometown. Upon receiving it, Jill wondered why he was giving it to her, as she could easily kick him out since this was her home. Alice's father corrected him, explaining that Alice used to personally give her the potion, but now if she needed one, she just had to ask. Jill was confused, realizing that he wasn't actually going to be kicked out. Alice's father then sat her down and told her that he had a lot to be thankful for, as his only wish as a father was for his daughter to be happy. However, he admitted that he wasn't the best at understanding her and knew that he wouldn't always be by her side. Ever since she was a child, instead of playing with others, Alice had always preferred to study as if her life depended on it. That's where Jill came in, as he was the only one who had willingly befriended Alice. Alice's father hoped that they would remain friends for a long time. Listening to him speak, Jill commented that he sounded like a normal father, as she had thought he was a harsh man for locking Alice in the shed, and his wife had oddly said the same thing. Arnold explained that he had made it a condition for Alicia to reach level 90 because he wanted her to stop being the saint's supervisor. He had intentionally given her such a challenging task. However, his plan backfired as it only motivated Alicia more. Jill commented that Alicia would undoubtedly succeed because she always achieved her goals. Furthermore, Alicia was incredibly strong. Arnold, however, was still reluctant to have his daughter mix with Liz Cather, as she would be in danger if she joined the wrong side. Albert, his son, had changed since he met Liz, so Arnold was not sure he still wanted him as his successor. After the incident, the king had personally visited him, apologized, and given him permission to remove Alicia from her supervisor position, though Arnold suspected the king still wanted her in that role. Jill then questioned whether they really believed Liz would save the kingdom. Arnold replied that the concept of saving the kingdom was rather ambiguous, but that Liz was indeed worth it because of her extraordinary magic talent, which could be of great use to them. Furthermore, when she graduated, she would be named a saint and work for the kingdom. The same would certainly be true for Alice, as the kingdom used anyone with exceptional talent. If she were a child without powers, he could protect her as a father. But as a member of one of the 5 great families, he would end up being one of those who would use her. That was what she meant by not always being on her side. Jill immediately retorted that Alice was not a poor child to be used. In fact, Alice thought everyone else was weak, and even argued that the kingdom's supremacy was ineffective. Although people might say that the kingdom would take advantage of a child, those without magic did not count. Alice wanted to train him to use it, and he would always be by her side no matter what. Meanwhile, Will was very happy, as the village's harvest had been a great success. They were eagerly waiting to show Alice all their progress, as thanks to her, they knew which variety to plant, and following her advice led to a better harvest than expected. Will also knew that a noble's daughter shouldn't know much about farming, so it was likely that she had learned on her own. Just then, a man snatched a sack of food from one of the children. He didn't get very far, however, as he was soon stopped by a burly man with a scar on his face. It was Nate, who quickly reprimanded Rebecca, telling her that she shouldn't chase anyone with that leg. She apologized, saying it was a reflex. Nate then mentioned that with such a large harvest, it was clear that they would be easy targets. Rebecca lamented that while they were a large family, there were still some who weren't entirely convinced. Him joining them would be a great help, and all of his friends were very strong. Nate, however, doubted that this rich girl could actually free a village like his one day, believing it was just a whim and that she just wanted to feel good about helping the poor. She hadn't been there in a while, so he assumed she was probably tired of it already. Despite this, both Rebecca and Will continued to take her seriously, which he thought was foolish, as he couldn't stand to see them being so naive. Rebecca firmly replied that Alicia wasn't like that, and that even if she was, it wouldn't matter, because she had taught them how to farm. Besides, if she had only done it out of pity, She could have bought food and given it to them. Instead, she had provided them with the knowledge of what to grow in a perpetually overcast village and how to make it thrive. They were better off now thanks to their own efforts. And that meant a lot. From now on, it was all up to them alone. Still, Rebecca didn't want the hope Alicia had given them to fade away. Meanwhile, we headed to Duke, whose father asked him if he had been helping the village of Loana. The king, likewise, was not going to scold him, as it had been Alice's suggestion. Apparently, Liz's judgment had sparked unexpected sympathy for Loana. However, emotions alone could not solve the problem. For her part, Alice had identified several problems and proposed plans that would be based on Liz's ideas. The king, after asking Duke if he had any interest in officially reforming Loana, explained that they had been using the village as a place to confine innocent people, isolating them with magic on a large scale. Liz argued that it was a humanitarian issue, but Alice saw it as a waste of land and magic resources. The king acknowledged that this was a problem that needed to be addressed, but it was not urgent. Numerous problems had piled up, waiting for the government's attention due to previous kings postponing action, including himself. He acknowledged his son's brilliance and admitted that Duke was more suited for this task, expressing regret at his brother's absence. Worried, Duke suggested that his father rest, as Loana's burden was overwhelming, and they should prevent the king from taking on any more worries. He added that local problems took time and delayed the kingdom's progress, encouraging his father to rely on the locals' judgment. Aware of his workload, the king entrusted Duke with personally managing Loana's reform. Amazed by Duke's impressive plans at such a young age, the king could not let his son's talent go to waste. It had been 6 months since Alicia entered the shed. Henri noticed that her training seemed intense, as she was the most talented among her siblings. Jill replied that Alicia had once told her that in order to improve magic, one had to develop strength first, as muscles were the foundation of everything. However, no matter how hard she trained, she would never reach Liz's level, although she wanted to get as close as possible. Otherwise, she couldn't be as bold with her. Jill understood how hard Alicia worked to gain confidence, so she could take on Liz. Henry wondered if she was really going to such lengths just to compete with her. He mentioned that Liz was a genius, capable of casting multiple spells simultaneously, each challenging on its own. Competing with someone like that was unthinkable, but only those who refused to settle for mediocrity could change the world. One day at the academy, Duke approached Henry to ask about Alicia, but Henry told him that she hadn't come. Other students, seeing them, misunderstood the situation and believed that Duke hated Alicia so much that he did everything he could to prevent her from setting foot in the academy. Afterwards, both of them expressed their frustration at how others viewed Alicia in a negative light. Curtis joined the conversation, mentioning that school life should be cheerful. Duke responded dryly, suggesting that if he wanted to complain, he should join those fools who only spread nonsense. Henry continued to talk about Alicia, saying that he didn't know where the rumors about her originated from. No matter how much he tried to clear things up, no one believed him, and he was even called kind-hearted for trying to protect his sister. Curtis mentioned that the first rumors claimed that Alicia visited Duke at night. Just then, Liz arrived with her followers. Seeing Duke's sad expression, she offered him a change of scenery with tea and sweets. Some students were murmuring that Duke and Liz made a good couple, and that when she was around, the prince seemed to forget about the troubles caused by Alicia Williams. Liz, having baked a cake, told him that she had put her whole heart into it so that he could smile again, but Duke rejected her offer without hesitation and left. Eric, witnessing this, told Liz not to worry, suggesting that Duke might simply not be in the mood for sweets. Albert, on the other hand, commented that perhaps his silly sister was to blame for Duke's tension and apologized to Liz. She assured him that apologies were unnecessary. She would try harder to help Duke smile again because she had faith in him. As Duke walked down the stairs, some girls continued to talk badly about Alicia. Finn, who was with him, commented that the situation was interesting. Finn hinted that he was worried about the change in attitude of those girls, who had previously looked down on Liz and even made her life difficult, but now suddenly idolized her. Duke, however, left without a word. Curtis thanked Finn for his support, to which Finn replied that he wasn't sure how long he could keep this up. If Alicia kept skipping school, it would be difficult to maintain a healthy school environment. Still, Finn commented that her eventual return would be intriguing. Curtis was surprised to see Finn enjoying all of this. Later, Duke met someone he called Mel and asked him to investigate the saint, as she seemed to possess something that drew people's admiration. Also, as his father had told him about Loana, he asked him to gather information on that as well. Mel noted that his actions might upset someone, but Duke was aware and didn't plan to force things. Perhaps progress would be faster if that person was around. Mel then asked him if he wanted him to notice Alicia, but Duke refused, wanting to be the only one who knew about her, even wishing he could be the only one who truly understood her. 2 years have passed. Henry is in the library with Jill, offering her some candy. Jill remembers that Alicia once mentioned eating macarons to increase her concentration. Henry suggests that it might have been because macarons were her favorite treats. Who knows how much longer she will last without trying macarons again? Alicia began her training over 2 years ago, and now there is less than half a year left until Liz Cather graduates. Jill mentions that honestly, knowing Alicia, she thought she would accomplish what her father asked of her in no time. Henry replies that reaching level 90 is no easy feat. He also remembers that when Alicia turned 15, her father tried to take her back to the academy, but she refused, saying that she was getting to the best part. Who knows what he meant by that? Jill takes comfort in knowing that at least Alicia hasn't given up, so he won't either. Just then, a panicked servant arrives to inform them that Alice has completed her training. Jill runs to the shed and upon arriving notices that the barrier has disappeared. Opening the door, he is met by a much more mature Alice. She looks at him and simply comments on how tall he has grown, almost not recognizing him. If you've reached this point in the video, don't forget to leave the word Exquisito in the comments. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.